inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in this very short recording, I thought I would do two key things, really. One is to just recognize the record month that we've just had in the sense that the podcast has had 250,000 downloads in a month, which is absolutely insane. It's about 70,000 downloads higher than it was last month, and 2 months of more than 10,000 downloads. 10,000 downloads a day, which is incredibly impressive. So thank you for listening to the show, but also for sharing, because I don't really do a lot of promotion. I'd put the occasional Instagram post out, Instagram story, just to kind of highlight an episode. But other than that, the growth is entirely organic. It is people either finding some of these titles online or sharing with people that they know. So the growth of the podcast is entirely down to you as the audience. So thank you very much for that. The other thing I wanted to highlight is really the nature of my consultation calls that I do. So on the each description, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, there's a link to book a free 30-minute consultation call. So I wanted to highlight what those consultation calls normally entail, so that if you've been listening to the show for a while and you've been kind of wondering, like, should you schedule a consultation call or not, just to explain what it is, what the purpose is, and what my expectations are on that call, if that makes sense. So the free 30-minute consultation call is a link to a booking page. I use a software called Schedule Once, and then you can schedule a 30-minute window on a Zoom call at a time that is convenient for you. Now, what I'm expecting you to do if you were to book that 30-minute consultation call is to have an idea of the questions that you would want to know from me, but also an element of an explanation of what your issue is and how long it's been happening, but also what you would prefer to have different. What I tend to do on that consultation call is very much answer questions that you may have, but diagnose, kind of dig deep into your specific issue, and maybe share a few anecdotes of other people that I've worked with, and the techniques or approaches that were successful with them. But mainly it's about figuring out what your particular issue is. I think one of the key things, and many people, many hypnotherapists have said that I should be charging for these consultation calls. And up to this point, I've been reluctant to do that, because I want my services to be accessible, so that if someone wanted to kind of pick my brains or kind of figure out my perspective on their particular issue, they've got a very easy avenue to be able to do that. But also I know that any kind of financial commitment has a presupposition that, you know, that there's going to be definite value in that call. Now, I know I deliver value even on the consultation call. It's not unusual for me at the end of that consultation call for people to say, you know what, I actually feel better just talking about the issue. But the purpose really is for me to figure out what the issue is and how it links to different approaches that I would use, but then also to explain the number of sessions that I think might be required to help you in your particular issue. And I'm framing that based on the information that I've elicited up to that point, but also knowing other clients that might have had similar issues that I've also spoken to. One of the things, and I see that people book the sessions and then they kind of cancel the consultation calls every now and then. And I've asked people, you know, for the people that have booked a consultation call, cancelled it, and then rebooked it later, I've asked them the question, you know, what led you to cancel that consultation call the first time? And generally there's two key reasons. Either it's because there's a part of them that wants to change and another part that is nervous about changing or doesn't know what change would be like. So it's almost like it feels like a bit of a conflict. So that's one key reason. And the second reason is that people have a perception that they won't be able to afford to work with me. Now, that may be the case, but there is no obligation to work with me even after the consultation call. So I don't have any expectation or any obligation that if you booked a 30-minute consultation call, that then you're obligated to then work with me as a hypnotherapist after that point. You're well within your rights to have the consultation call, kind of ask my opinion on your particular issue, and then simply decide that you don't want to work with me. That's completely your prerogative. But one of the key things that I think people do is they assume that if they can't afford to work with me, based on either their perceptions or some research that they've done checking out my rates online, and I'm very upfront about publishing those rates, that they just kind of cancel the consultation call. I don't mind it if people schedule a consultation call and then cancel beforehand. Completely fine. I only have one slight bugbear, and that is when people can schedule the consultation call and then don't show up for it, because I'm sat here ready to do the call, and then they, every now and then, it doesn't happen often, but every now and then they're just not there. And in those situations, if it's a no-show, then even if they try and schedule again, in those particular cases, I'm not going to accept that consultation call because they've already utilized my time in that first window by not canceling it, if that makes sense. If someone was to schedule a call, cancel it for good reasons, and then reschedule later, totally fine. That 30 minutes, we can then have a chat and talk through stuff. I think it's just being respectful of each other's time when we have these consultation calls. But there isn't an expectation that I'm expecting you to work with me just because we have a consultation call. I just want to make that absolutely clear. So the key thing that if you do have an issue that you're facing at the moment, could be anxiety, stress, and addiction, phobia, anything like that, weight loss issues, it's worth clicking the link nearby to book that consultation call and we can have a chat about it. Doesn't mean you have to work with me, but it might create a different way of thinking so that either you do go on to work with me or you've got more of an idea of where to look for help that could actually be beneficial for you, if that makes sense. So one of the key things that I know from having worked with hundreds of clients now is some of the feedback I get after working with a client is that they admit quite often that they were thinking about working with me for a while before they actually scheduled that first call and were a little bit nervous or a little bit hesitant to do that. But then after all the sessions are finished, they kind of say, well, I wish I would have done that earlier. So if that sounds like you and you do have an issue and you are listening to this podcast and that issue hasn't been resolved yet, I would encourage you to book that 30-minute consultation call. Think about how you'd want things to be different. Think about the questions you'd want to ask me, and then we can have a chat about it. And I look forward to speaking with you if that's you, and you do have questions that you want to ask. And that's really it for this session. This very short episode. Just a thank you for listening, because that's how the podcast grows. So thank you for that, and hopefully just a bit of reassurance as to what that consultation call is. It's a 30-minute chat about you, your issue, and perhaps different ways in which I could help, with no expectation or obligation for you to then work with me after that particular point. I hope this has been useful. If you have got any questions, drop me an email, adam@adamcox.co.uk. And if you do want to book that session, it's completely free. Click the link nearby, and then we can have a chat for 30 minutes about you and your particular issue that you're facing. Hope that's been useful. Take care.